Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and when I reviewed my last Zemismart Matter compatible device, I showed you that I also received these smart switches, and actually I received two of them. So one of them is connected that I can just demo, and this is the other one which, so now I can just show you some close-ups as well. And this is one of those products which I have reviewed quite a few of them on my channel. And these are designed to go behind your, regular traditional switch, behind your switch box, and then just basically make them smart. So what you would do is you would connect your lights to this switch, as you can see it here. I'm going to talk about the wiring a little bit later in the video. And then you connect your switch to these terminals here. So now I can use my switch to operate it and then turn the lights on and off. But now I can use my Home app as well, Google Home, but I'm doing the whole setup in Google Home, so I can do the control of these devices as well. And of course, if I change it here, then it will update the status on the app as well, and I can show the actual state. So these devices are really ideal to make old light switches like this regular light switch smart. And it allows you to control your lights regularly, just like with any light switch. And then you can also control them from your phone. And of course, with voice and some automations as well. And by the way, this is called the ZME2 model. And at the moment, it is available from Zemismart for $14.90 USD. I think that probably there is some shipping, but I have to look at what is, oh yeah, there is some shipping. So that's the price for this one. On the website there is an old price. I don't know whether this is just like a decoy price or it was really $24.83 at some point, but it is available for roughly $15 at the moment. And in this video, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more detail. We are going to go into the specs. I'm going to talk about the wiring, and actually we are going to look at how you can set it up in the Google Home app, and how you can operate it and set up simple automations. And I think I'm going to start with the layout first. So, well, you have the unit assembled here, but because I received two, I can also use the second one to actually show you the whole thing. So it has this rounded shape, so obviously it fits into the type 86, the European sort of this rounded hole in the ball. And on the other side we have a couple of terminals that I'm going to talk a little bit later on about that. And then we also have two physical buttons here. So if you want to use these ones, you can use these as well to switch, but I would assume this is merely for testing. And of course you have the switch terminals here on the bottom side. And it comes in this really small box. And well, there is nothing really much in it. Obviously it says Matter, so it is Matter compatible. And in the box you are just receiving two little screws, and there is a very little user manual. So it really just goes into the main things of how you connect this and how you set it up and what the specs are. And I think the screenshots are from, well, the screenshots look fairly generic, but it's more like a Homekit, Apple Homekit screenshot, so Apple screenshot. And in terms of the specs, so this is the ZME2 model, and so 600 watts, so 300 watts per gang. So it's roughly like a 10 amp relay, which is sort of typical for these switches. And yeah, that's it. And I think probably the best is that we go over to the wiring. And if you want to just look at the wiring, so there are some really good diagrams here in the documentation as well. So I'm going to use the left option here. So I will have one single light switch, which like a 2-gang or 2-pole light switch, no, 2-gang. But the second one shows an example how you want to wire it up if you want to use two-way switching for both of the gangs. And so, but in order to go into the whole wiring and the connections, so everything is very clearly labeled. So as you can see, you have a common neutral connection here. Yes, so you need the neutral connection for this type of smart switches. You have the incoming live, which is marked as L, and the two switched output are the L1 and the L2s. So you connect the mains to neutral and live, and you connect your lamp between neutral and L1 and neutral and L2. And for the switch side, you can see 3 terminals here, and then according to the diagram, the middle terminal is the common for the two switches, and then sort of the input for switch 1 is the left and the for switch 2 is the right, or actually the other way around. So yeah, it is, that's also very easy to configure. You see these terminals are smaller, and there is a sticker here which says that these switch terminals are only signal terminals and should not be connected to the mains 100 or 200, 110 or 240 volts. So as you can see here in the diagram here, well, no, sorry, not the diagram, but the actual connections, what I have done, since I was talking about the switches. So this is my switch, and you can see the green one goes to the common of this 2-gang switch. So that goes into the middle, and then the two, so the two switch terminals or the switch contacts go into either on the left or the right side. And this is just a normal, you know, toggle switch. And for me, this is the cable where the power comes in. So you can see it's connected between live and neutral. And the two lamps, these simple lamps, are connected between neutral and L1 and the L2. So this is how they are connected. And that's pretty much it. And of course, if I turn it on, well, I just realized that it's already on. So it is already working. So even before you configure it with any smart home application, it is still working, just a regular switch. Probably the only thing I would mention is, what I don't understand is there is a slightly noticeable delay between I switch it So what I would notice that there is a slightly noticeable delay between when I switch it and when actually the light comes on. It's like half a second, which I mean, I just noticed. That's the whole thing. And the other thing is that I think this wiring diagram is actually not correct, because if I switch this one off, then both of them go off, and then, but if I do like one, then it works as expected. So there is a wiring diagram here, but actually there is a printing on the actual device, which makes a different, it makes sense for me in a different way, because for me, based on this one, this appears to be the common, and this is K1 and K2 as the the two switched output. So for me, the left is the common, and then the next two are the inputs. So let me switch the wiring around. So I switched the wiring around, and as you can see now, the common goes to the left terminal, and then the outputs are the two. So if I turn this one on, one of the lamp comes on, and for the other comes on. And if I turn this one off, only this turns off. And so I think this is the correct wiring. So common is the left, and the two inputs are the ones next to it on the middle one and the right one. I think this is how it's supposed to be, and probably the printing should be changed. But again, if you look at the box, then I think it makes more sense how it's supposed to be. Okay, so this is great now. So now everything is working, the wiring is working. I think it is time that I set it up in my home app. So I'm logging into my home app, and I can just only assume that it is on in pairing mode still. So I'm just going to go to devices and add a new device and confirm my address. And it's looking for a device, and we just have to wait a little until it brings up that screen that I need to choose. Oh, okay, Matter enabled device found. Okay, so there is something which is found. Okay, I guess that's the one, and we read the QR code. The QR code is read. I agree. And let's see what happens. I don't really have a good way of storing these Matter codes, but I think if you start using these switches, maybe it would be a good idea just to store them and then document it somehow, so you don't have to remove the actual switch to get the QR code if you would ever need to re-register these devices for any reason. But yeah, so the device is connected, and now I just need to find it. Okay, so I think I found the devices, and normally I get a pop-up screen saying that please name your device, but I think the reason it didn't pop up this time because it actually registered two devices at the same time because it's 2-gang. So I just turned them on, and I scrolled through my list, and I could see these smart home switches, and it says like in your home. And as you can see, it is really quick. So as soon as I, flick it here on the phone screen, then it works on the, oops, okay, now it's in sync. It works in real life as well. So if I go into this, obviously I don't get a lot of options here. It's just the main on off. There is no, brightness control or anything like that. If I go to the settings, I can rename it here, and I can put it into assign it to a different type. So it shows up as a different icon. So maybe I'm going to do this as coffee maker. So let's see how the icon looks like. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it. And also I can put it into a different room, so it doesn't show up as like, inside your house. And I can do the same for the other one as well. So let me just do these and just assign it to a different type. Maybe that's going to be my fan. You are a fan. Good. Okay, so it's the other one is the fan. But that's it. Yeah, you can control it. It registers in your Google Home app, and of course it would work exactly the same way in the Apple Homekit or the Alexa app, because, well, it's Matter, so the whole process is the same. The screens could be slightly different, but I think in general it's going to be the same functionality. And I quickly want to go into the the automations, and then see what I can do, because I assume that I can create a scene for these as a starter device and also as an action device. So in a starter device, when the device does something, and yes, so my smart switches, my 2 smart switches are here right in the beginning, and I can create an action or a condition whenever so Google does something, or my automation system does something, if this switch is turned on and off. And I can also assign a time condition. So if I want this routine to be only executed, or this automation to be only executed in a certain period of time, I can do that. So yeah, that's fine. So let's say if the smart switch turns on, then on the action, I also want adjust the home device, and I want the other smart switch to also turn on. Okay, this is a very stupid scene, but I guess you get the idea. And of course, I can't really tell which one is the which one is the one that I wanted to add. Aha, okay, so this is the one. So this one I cannot turn it off because the automation turns it back on immediately. Oh, no, it works now. Okay, so again, this wasn't really a useful thing. I want to gather a few more Matter devices, and I'm probably going to install them in the same board so we can play around with a little bit of automations. But I just wanted to show you the whole principle that we can use this device as a trigger device. So you can set up a scene that if I turn this one on, then something else happens. So maybe if you have just a simple Matter light bulb, or well, basically any light bulb for that matter, what you can do is that if you turn the switch on, that obviously turns the output on, but maybe you have a separate light that you also want to turn on. So then you can use the automation like this. You set up a starter action which says that if this gets turned on, and then the action part, you set up your other device to turn on. And of course you create a second one where it does the same thing for the off action or the off event. But with this video, I think I managed to show you all the capabilities and the functions of this Matter compatible smart switch. If you are interested in this product, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description. But that would be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.